Hi everyone, Troy here from Ampeg. We're at NAMM 2018. Pleased to present Eva Gardner from Pink, Rudy Sarzo now with the Guess Who. Thanks for coming out, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. So let's start off. Both of you were in Hired Gun, a documentary about the untold stories behind your favorite musicians. And as Hired Guns, both of you are prominently featured. Eva, you've been with Cher and Pink and Gwen Stefani, Tegan and Sarah. Rudy, you've been with Ozzy, Dio, Quiet Riot, the list goes on. You've been now with the Guess Who for a couple of years. Even you've been with Pink for 10 plus years now. So what is it about being a hired gun that is appealing to you?
I mean, it's very appealing in a lot of ways. I mean, there's so many different facets to what we do, and there's so many different sides to being a musician. There's being a writer, there's being in a band, there's being fronting a band, there's being in a supportive role for artists like what I do. I guess you'd call that a hired gun, or studio musician. And there's just so many different facets to what we do. And I think it's just one of the arms on the branches on the tree. And I think it's a great time, and it's a wonderful opportunity to work with wonderful people and basically the people at the top of their game. And it takes a lot to stay there. I think you have to be at a certain level and have a certain work ethic, and because there's plenty of people out there that are waiting for that same job. So yeah, I think there's a lot of elements.
Right up there.
Yeah, and I think
the best of the best.
Yeah, I mean, it's like even like being on time and being on top of your game and being a good attitude and a good hang, and being supportive of the artist too, and remembering your role and remembering that you're there to support the artist and do what needs to be done for that particular job. But it's always changing. It's always different. It depends on the person you're working with, and it depends on the band you're in. If you're in a band or a band member, that's a whole different thing.
Yeah, I highly recommend to any young musician coming up to have the experience of being a hired gun, because from experience I have a lot of I learn a lot, and but having said that, that was not my original goal. 40 years ago, when I came out to Los Angeles, I wanted to be in a band. I was in a band. I was in the original version of Quiet Riot with Randy Rhoads. And it was all about being in the band, not being a hired gun, And there was a lot of sacrifice, a lot of sleeping on the floor and going starving because you were in a band. You were proud of that, So when I got the call from to audition for Ozzy, I turned it down originally because I was in a band called Angel. I was in a band, and that was my goal, to be in a band. Even though we didn't have a record deal, Angel had just lost their Casablanca record deal, and I was still sleeping on the floor and starving. I was in a band, And then by the second time that Ozzy called me to audition, because Randy was relentless about me, joining the band, I had given a lot of thought and realized what a stupid decision I had made, because it was just kind of like, yeah, hi, Rudy, this is Sharon. Randy told me about you. You want to come down and audition for Ozzy? Oh, thanks, Sharon, but I'm in a band called Angel. No, really. You hang up the phone. And then I thought about it and went, oh, my God, what did I do? So anyway, so the next time I did, and I had the most incredible experience of my life, playing with Ozzy, musically and also business-wise. I learned so much from Sharon. There was a time where it was the band, including Sharon, in one bus traveling around the world. Well, flying and the bus. We didn't have a bus that with wings, but nevertheless, it's yeah. So I learned a lot because I kept my mouth shut and my ears open, my eyes open, and I learned. It was an incredible learning experience. Yeah, that I actually was able to take that when I rejoined Quiet Riot. So from the mental health version of the band, I'm also a founding member of that. But then again, sometimes you have conflict in your own band that you don't have when you're a hired gun. Because I think when you're in a hired gun, it's pretty much set who sets the rules. When you're in a band, there's a lot of bickering because everybody thinks that, hey, I'm just as important as you are, so there's a lot of conflict. And then you have people aligning with others, and all of a sudden you get like 2 or 3 people against you. That does not happen as a hired gun, yeah. So then I went on to work with, being in Whitesnake's band. And then ever since then, I went back with Quiet Riot for about 7 years. But I got to tell you, I've had some incredible experiences being a hired gun, even though that was not my original intention. And now, as the industry goes in the direction that it's in, which is harder to actually make your own band, get four or five musicians and say, okay, we're going to create a brand new band. How are you going to do that? There's no infrastructure in the industry to develop a new band. So what you do is you become yourself available to other artists that need or want your skills, to join them.
So Fran Strine directed it, and the documentary just blew up. He was supposed to be here but couldn't make it because he's in Utah now for the Sundance Festival. Good for you, Fran, if you're watching this. Awesome. Congrats. I want to know how he approached you guys about being in the film and how that all happened.
I actually, I believe it was through Mark Schulman, who is in the film. He's our drummer in the Pink Band. And he had done an interview, and I was approached by Fran after that, after Mark said, hey, you should get Eva on board too. And then Justin was involved as well. So, so that's how. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I got a call. There was other people involved with the film that I knew personally, and they called me up and say, hey, would you like to be involved in this documentary? And I said, yeah, sure, I'd love to. But as when you get interviewed for a documentary, you do it separately, so you're never aware of what anybody else's story or even questions are going to be. So, you go and you do your documentary, and then 3 years later, it's on the screen. And what I really enjoyed about it, one of the many things was actually finding everybody else's story, because it was so revealing. It was.
And Rudy, as we mentioned earlier, there's a ton of bands you've played in. Is there anyone you haven't played with that you would like to?
Oh my God, yeah. There's so many. But, these are just certain things. There's certain musicians that really made an impact on me. Not necessarily bass players, but musicians in general. People like Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page. I play with people that play with them, but it's just certain something, even doing a jam session or something like that. Not necessarily going on tour or being part of the recording process. Yeah, there's so many.
And Rudy, you wrote a book called Off the Rails, and it's with your time with Ozzy and, of course, your good friend Randy Rhoads. And I was just hoping maybe you have time to share a story with us.
Well, one of the reasons why I wrote the book was so, a situation like this. Number one question I get asked when I tour is, what was it like to play with Randy Rhoads? It'd be like somebody in the lobby of the hotel, a fan. So, hey, on the way to sound check. So, please tell me, what was it like to play with Randy Rhoads? And before I wrote the book, I would tell him a story. And then we would shake hands, say goodbye, and then I would think, oh my God, I should have told him about this and this other one and that all those stories. So I decided to put everything that I experienced into a book. So it's all there.
In addition to music, Eva, you're into the visual arts. Can you tell us more about that side of your arts? I really enjoy painting as well. I feel like I started playing music because of my dad. My dad was also a painter, and I just grew up around music. I grew up around art, and it's just something that I really enjoy doing. I started painting when I was a young child, and I remember splashing paint. I had like some very Pollock moment and was like splashing paint everywhere, and there's paint all over my room, and I got in trouble. And I think at that moment I was like, I don't know, maybe I should try this music thing or something like that. But it's something I still enjoy doing, and I explore it when I for each other, sort of.
Yeah, exactly.
From music, or if you need to get away from the arts, you trying to have each other.
Yeah, it's just another side of my creative brain when I'm downloading from the ether or whatever. And it's just sometimes when I'm practicing, I'll practice music for a while, and then I'll just take a left turn and go into the visual mode. And it's just a different side of the same kind of thing, but I love it. It's so much fun for me.
You spend time at the Cat and Fiddle as well?
Yes.
Right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, the Cat and Fiddle, it's my family's pub. This is our 35th year. My dad started it 35 years ago, and I'm usually there slinging drinks when I'm in LA. Being a family affair, it's a family pub, so you know, if I'm in town and the kitchen ran out of onions or something, I'm on it.
Okay. All right. So let's look at 2018, about where we are right now. What are your plans for this year?
This year, we are starting back up with Pink on another Pink tour. So we're in rehearsals right now, and first show kicks off March 1st, and we're on the road.
And where's that show?
We start in Phoenix. Yeah, so we'll be in North America for the first run, and then Australia. And
I assume the rest of Europe and everyone else will hit maybe after that.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, for now, we've got that on the books.
Great.
So,
yeah, we look forward to seeing you out on the road.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
And Rudy, you've got
Yeah. Recently, it became the new bassist for the Guess Who. So we've been on tour. There's a new record coming out, and just going to we have a huge tour planned this year. Do you have a name of the album or anything like that? No, really, that's a good question. It hasn't been named yet.
Or no release date.
No, I mean we've done the photo shoot, we've done everything, and they'll probably pick one of the songs from the record.
Right.
Well,
you did a video shoot as well.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And that'll be released.
With Nigel Dick, famous director from England. You have to be English to actually call yourself Nigel Dick.
Good point.
So, what Ampeg gear do you rely on, or does it vary by venue?
That's definitely a vary by venue situation. But my go-to for the arena shows, the bigger shows, is an A10 cab, and I'm using the SVT 2 Pros. I love the tube sound, and I'm using those old 2 Pros. And when I'm not using those, I'll use the VR rig. I'll use the old, the VR SVT VR head and the A10 cab. And
how about the studio?
The studio stuff, I love my B15. Mm-hmm. That's like the quintessential studio rig. I'm a big Jamerson fan, and so the B15 is great in the studio. Yeah.
Rudy?
Yeah, I mean, I'm old enough I can say back in the 60s, I used to own a B15, the Portaflex. And then in the 70s with the A10s, I mean, that was like the standard, And then with Ozzy, I had like a wall of SVTs, and that's back in 1981. So I've owned a few different configuration of SVT amplifiers, and they've, it always had that Ampeg quality to it. The tube, you can't, nothing sounds like it. You can't fake it. You can't emulate it. It's the real deal, And so now I'm still using the A10s, and I love it. And I'm looking forward to actually in the studio, just like you're doing, bringing back a B15, because there's a certain tones that you can actually get with those amps,
Okay. Again, Troy at Ampeg. We're at NAMM 2018 with Eva Gardner and Rudy Sarzo. Thanks so much for stopping by.